Hello, friends, foes, and people who aren't sure yet. We're going to do a follow along workout. And it's going to be foundational and it's going to be chill, and we're going to focus on finding our muscles. It's going to be amazing. We're going to have so much fun. It's going to be terrific. So, you should be warmed up by now because I probably assigned you that if you're one of my clients. And if you didn't, then, do the warm up first. Now we're going to go into the exercises. So, only equipment that we're going to need is a chair and a blank wall space. The chair, if the chair has a back on it, we may be able to use that. You also might benefit from a table at around hip height. I'm 5'3", so my hip height might be a little different than other people's hip heights. So, your mileage may vary. But basically, like about hip or waist height, it can also be a little bit higher. That's going to be the most useful thing, but we can also use the back of a chair if we need to. So we're going to go ahead and get started with some glute kickbacks using our chair. Exciting. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to show you what the movement is, which is where we're leaned over like this, supporting ourselves. Our leg is straight. It's kicking back. I'm using my glutes to pick up my leg, and I'm trying to use my butt muscle and nothing else to speak of. So now that you know what it looks like, I'm going to walk you through it. You can watch me, you can follow along, I don't know, whatever works for you. So here, I like to start at the seat of my chair, but some people, especially if you're a little taller, might be more comfortable on the back of the chair like this. So I would try one, and then if it feels weird, I would try the other. For me, this is a little bit more comfortable, so this is where I'm going to be. So support yourself. Arms can be straight or bent, doesn't matter to me. You're going to shift your weight onto one leg and take your leg back behind you just slightly. So this is going to be our start position. Here, I want you to think about bracing your core just a teeny tiny bit, and then I want you to think about squeezing your butt and then lifting your foot up and then coming back down. And now it's important that we start with that squeeze and lift, because it can be really easy to just like go to town on this and try and get as high as humanly possible, which is great if you're trying to kick really high, but not so great if you're actually trying to use your muscles in the way that you intend. So we're going to take this nice and slow squeeze lift and squeeze lift. And you'll notice that here, I'm not getting that high. I'm getting to just about in line and a little bit lower actually than my hip. So you might notice that about here is where you stop. That's totally fine. And then play with the angle of your foot too. Some people notice better activation if they spin their foot out to about 45 degrees. So try it, and if it works, great. If it doesn't, go back to whatever felt good. Let's do about 3 more on this side. And last one. And then we're going to switch. So you might have noticed the glute on the leg that was just standing might have also been working too. If that's the case, yay. If that's not the case, also yay. The standing leg is going to be working to stabilize you the whole time, so it might also be working as well. But if you notice that anything hurts or you have any pain, that might be a time to do some tweaks. So we're going to see if there's any tweaks that need to be that's not a word, but whatever. Any tweaks that need to be made on this second round. Perfect. So now you're going to stand on the other leg that was just kicking. You're going to extend your other leg back behind you. You're going to squeeze your butt and you're going to lift up. And then you're going to come back down. Now, if you're feeling a lot more of the back of your thigh on your kicking leg, try softening your leg a little bit and relaxing your foot. And that can really help. If you're feeling your low back working more than anything else, I want you to be mindful that you're not dropping into the front of your body like this. Tuck your tailbone like in our cats and cows, brace your core, and then squeeze your butt and lift while you're keeping your core braced. You can also try that spin out to the 45 degrees on this side. See how that feels. If it helps, great. If you're like, it's better the other way, then do it the other way. It doesn't matter at all. We're just going for activation here more than anything. Let's do 3 more. And last one. and release. Come on down. Oh, okay. Shake it off. Hooray. And now we're going to give ourselves a break from thinking about our lower body, and we're going to work on our upper body. So we're going to start with something called a wall push-up, which, like the name suggests, is a push-up at the wall. So we're going to go ahead and mosey over to our wall right now. All right, so our form here is going to be the same for any push-up, whether we're at the wall, whether we're doing them elevated, whether we're at the floor. If you can do elevated push-ups or normal push-ups, that's totally cool. I want you to follow along with the wall just for now, just to make sure that we're having all of the little form pieces that we want really good when it's easy, and then we can progress into the right amount of hard in the future. All right, so to start with, we're going to be finding our plank position at the wall. So when we're here, we're going to be extending our arms all the way. Our hands are going to be a little bit lower than our shoulders, perhaps counterintuitively. We're up on our tippy toes and we're back slightly, not super far. You shouldn't have a lot of weight in your hands, but we are back just a little bit, kind of angled. So our head is a tiny bit more forward than our feet. We're keeping our tailbone tucked so that we can brace into the front of our core. Last thing, I know there's a million things, we're going to take our hands and we're going to roll our shoulders down our back so our hands actually clock out just a little bit. Because when we're doing push-ups, it can be really easy when we're working really hard and fighting for our lives to curl in and do our push-ups like this, and then you hurt things. We don't want to do that. So I just talked a lot, so let's go ahead and do the checklist again. We're going to be in our plank position. You're going to stand, face the wall, arms are out, shoulders down, roll your shoulders down your back a little bit, up on the tippy toes, stepping back. Find this plank, brace your core. Now we're going to go ahead and just do our push-up, which I'm now realizing I forgot to demo, so go me, I'm a professional. We're going to bend our elbows, bring them along our sides until our face gets close to the wall. And then here we have an option. We're either going to push up or we're going to lower down, realize that we can't push up, step forward with our feet, and reset back to our plank. And then lower down. And then maybe press up, or maybe we lower down, and we release, and we step back. So here, we're not really trying to do the most difficult thing that has ever been difficulted. We're trying to get the hang of what this actually feels like in our body, and making sure, and this is key, especially for anybody who has shoulder pain, making sure that our shoulders are in the right place in that rolled down position. Because if we start to roll forward and roll in, we can feel a little stronger there, but what we're doing is we're kind of over-relying on the wrong things. We're not able to use all of our muscles well enough, so our chance of getting injured, getting some like pain going down the front of our bicep like this is really high. So we're just going to do, if you took a break while I took a break, fabulous. If you didn't, take a break. I don't know. But if you want to keep going, we're going to do 3 more, and then we're going to stop. And last one. Very nice. So now the arms get a break. We go back to the lower body, back to our chair. Hello, chair. In the interests of demoing things correctly, I'm going to be on my elbows on the back of my chair now, and we'll go from here. All right. Very nice. So support yourself on the chair however you desire. Pick a leg, any leg to start on. Shift your weight onto that leg. Kick the other leg back just a little bit. Then you're going to think, brace your core a tiny bit. Squeeze your butt. Lift your leg. Come back down. Little tap. And then lift again. And keep on keeping on. Just like that. And then remember, you can relax your knee if you're feeling your hamstring. Let's do 2 more. Brace your core and tuck your tailbone if you're feeling your low back. Let's go ahead and switch to the other side. Shift your weight, set your leg back, and then squeeze and lift. You can hear my chair creaking all over the place. I'm sorry about that. And let's do 3 more. Last one. All right. And we'll go ahead and release out of that. We head back to our wall. Find that plank position. Hands are lower than our shoulders. We're up on our tippy toes. We're a little bit back. Tailbone is tucked. We roll our shoulders down and out. So our thumbs facing away from us, if you did that video. And then we're going to go ahead and bend our elbows. Face comes down toward the ground. We either just do the lowering part or we do the whole thing. And here I want you to think about using your arms and your chest and your shoulders as you do this. And as you lower down, notice if you're trying to roll in and cave your shoulders forward. Because if you are, then you might want to try rolling back and then stepping forward and just doing the part where we're lowering down to the wall. A totally reasonable variation. Because we're not trying to do the most here. You don't get a prize for doing an exercise variation that's harder for you to control. You get to actually improve if you pick the right kind of intensity. And so for some people, that might be a wall push-up. For other people, it might be a push-up on the ground. For other people, it might be a wall push-up where they're just doing the lowering part and then stepping forward. Because I've trained lots of different people, and I've taken people who could only do the lowering portion of the push-up all the way down to doing push-ups on the floor. It's possible. And you won't be able to skip the line there. So if you're here and you're feeling kind of frustrated by push-ups because they're really fucking hard, that's because push-ups are really fucking hard, so please don't beat yourself up. What's next? Back to the chair. We're gonna do a lower body thing. This time, instead of our glute, we're gonna be working on our hamstring, which is the back of our thigh here. So we're doing what's called a standing hamstring curl, and what it looks like is this. So obnoxiously similar to our glute kickback that we just did, I'm aware, but it is different. So let's do the setup together. So now you're going to be standing upright and normally holding on to the back of your chair. If you don't have a chair with a back, you can do this facing a wall, it's fine. You're going to shift your weight onto one leg. You're going to keep your knees are going to stay even. I'll explain why that's important in a little bit. You're going to flex your foot just a hair. You're going to kick your heel up toward your butt. So think about squeezing the back of your thigh, heel kicks up, squeeze, hold, comes back down, little tap. Now, some people, when they do that kick, if they flex the crap out of their foot, you might get a cramp back here. So don't do that. Cramps aren't really very helpful. So if that's the case, keep your foot relaxed. But if you keep your foot relaxed and you're just like hanging out, then try flexing your foot. That will probably help. Very nice. So why I want to be aware of our knee position is because if we're doing this and we're letting our knee slide forward, you're going to be hanging out being like, why does she say this is hard? This isn't hard at all. So what I want you to do is make sure that your knee stays either even with or slightly behind your other knee so you can kick up and then hold. And then I don't care how strong you are, these actually can be weirdly challenging. Very nice. We spent forever on this side, so let's go ahead and switch so we can spend forever on the other side. Same thing, shift your weight, take your leg back behind you, little flex of the foot, or if you're worried about cramping, keep that foot loose, and then kick your heel up toward your butt, take that knee back just a hair. We also don't want to be back like this because then that's going to hurt our back. So we're right in line. Think about a stack. All right. If you're noticing your low back is kind of trying to get involved and trying to help everybody out, go ahead and tuck your tailbone under you a little bit, brace your core. Squeeze the front of your belly, maybe bring your ribs down toward your hips a little bit, and then see if that helps you to keep it out of that low back. Quick note on that, as we do about 8 more on this side, because I did a million on the other side. It's not so much that we want to never feel the muscles of our low back work. It's more that, two more, it's more that we want to be able to turn on the muscles that we intend, that was your last one, when we intend to. Because your muscles of your low back help to support all of your trunk. But what can tend to happen, and what I see with a lot of the clients that I work with, is the muscles in the low back sort of become the only people contributing to the group project. And then you have all these muscles in the front of your core, and in your butt, and in your hips that are really just like letting every other muscle work. And so step one is we learn how to turn all those guys on, and we say, hello, muscle, it's actually your time to do the thing. And then it's like, harumph, I guess I have to because you're using such good form. That's totally how that happens biologically, if you were wondering. Anyway, so here we're just trying to think about it like we have this row of light switches. We want to make sure we have the right switches on and the right switches off, because that's how we build a really nice foundation that we can build on from there. Next thing, our final exercise that we'll do, we're going to do that one more time though, so don't worry, is we're going to do a lat activation. Now, our lats are these big muscles that attach in our armpit and go all the way down into our low back like this. They're actually the biggest muscle in our upper body. If you're like, I don't care about that, that's fine. I'm just a nerd and I like to share things. So lats, especially if you are the owner of a uterus, like to not work, generally speaking. So we start practicing nice and early how to get these guys to turn on. Because let me tell you, I lifted weights for like 5 years before I figured out how to activate my lats. And don't do that. It's not helpful. Okay, so this is where we're going to take our thing that's a height of about our hips. And we're going to take one hand at a time. Hand is going to go on here, not with a straight arm. Our elbow's a little bit soft, and this is a very kind of relaxed position here. You're going to take your other hand, reach across your body, put your hand in your armpit. If you are well endowed in the front, this may not be realistic, and if that's the case, that's fine. Don't worry about that part. So here, we're going to have that hand in the armpit. Now we're going to think about that roll, the same one that we practiced at the push-up. To roll our shoulder back, so we're externally rotated, so our thumb spins out. We're going to take our shoulder down away from our ear, and then we're going to press our hand into this hard surface, and then see if we can get this muscle in our armpit to grab. So we roll, we press, we see if it grabs. And if it doesn't, we're just going to keep trying it. So you see, this is a really small movement that I'm doing here. Teeny, teeny, tiny. Teeniest, tiniest, if you will. And you're just going to press and release, and press and release. Now, if you're feeling a lot of muscles on the top, maybe your neck, maybe your shoulder, that can mean that you're trying to use these muscles to push down. If that's the case, learning this is hard, so don't worry about it. Practice makes perfect, and sometimes this one takes a minute. Let's do one more on this side, then we're going to switch to the other side. Fist, you're standing sort of close to this, not on top of it, but your arm's not locked. You're kind of right here in the middle. Wrap the arm over into your armpit if that's accessible to you. Shoulder down, roll that shoulder out, and then press down. And then you do the press and release and press and release. If you have a dominant, if you are on your dominant side, you might notice that your dominant side is a little easier. Although honestly, sometimes people notice that their dominant side is harder. So, just notice whatever's going on. Don't judge it. Your mileage may vary. Let's do about 3 more on this side. The press release. And last one. Good. And if that went well, fabulous. If that went horribly, no worries. We will keep practicing it. I had to practice this. This is literally how I finally got my lats to engage enough that I could start doing pull-ups. Because before it was not that good. But that took me weeks. So if you need to keep practicing, welcome to the club, because same. All right, back to our chair. A little less talking this time because I'm doing a yammer on this one. Flex our foot, standing on one leg, keeping our knee behind the other knee. We kick up, we hold, we come back down. This time I'm going to add a hold of about 2 seconds because that will make it quite a bit harder. Because we can chill here and do absolutely nothing, which is a waste of time. Like, you're doing this long freaking video, you might as well get something out of it. So we'll kick our heel up, squeeze, hold, come back down. Let's do about 5 more. And 3, 2, and 1. Switch over to the other side. Keeping that knee behind the other knee slightly, or at least even with it. Flex your foot, kicking up, squeeze, hold, before you come back down. Good. Almost there. Let's do 4 more. And 2, and 1. Very nice. And hopefully this goes without saying, but if at any point you're like, wow, I need a break, please take it, because, you know, life is hard enough. Let's not make this any harder than it has to be. All right, back over here for our lat activation. Whichever side you want to start with is totally fine. You can do the armpit wrap. You don't have to. Shoulder is down, rolling out, pressing down. Feel that shoulder activate, release, and press down and release. And take a look at your arm here as you're pressing, releasing. And just make sure that you're not super stiff-armed and locked out, and you're also not super bent, because if you're bent like this, you're not going to feel your lat working. So a little step back if you need it. You are copying me with my dancey dancing. And let's do about 3 or 4 more. You could even try moving your hand around a little bit, maybe seeing if that makes a difference. Last one. And if it does, cool. If it doesn't, cool. We're just practicing. Over to the other side. Wrap if you want, don't if you don't. Rolling our shoulder out. Arm is soft, but kind of straight. So specific, I know. Pressing down and releasing. Again, you might notice more on one side than the other, and that's fine. That's really normal. Last one here. And release. Shake it out, wiggle it out. All right. Last thing we're going to do, a couple little stretches to close out the day. Let's go ahead and take our arms up. You're going to grab one wrist, stretch up and over. If this is feeling not super comfortable, you can stretch in front of you. Don't need to pull very far or very hard. And we'll come back to center. Switch your grip. Other side. And then we'll come back to center. Let your hands go. We'll come to your hips. Feet are going to be out wide, a little bit soft, and a little wider than hips distance. Knees a little soft. You're going to push your hips around in a big circle, like a white person at a luau. Just slower. Taking your time. And there might be some places where some part of you, maybe your hips, maybe your low back, complains a little. And if you can keep going and it gets better, that's awesome. If you keep going and it's just not feeling amazing, maybe make the circle quite a bit smaller and see if that helps. And let's go ahead and finish our circle, and then we'll go the other way. Nice and slow. Surprisingly enough, sometimes we'll notice a difference from one direction to the other. So if that's you, that's okay. Welcome to the club. And let's finish this here circle. And we'll come back to center. Any little wiggles. And congratulations, you survived. Hopefully it wasn't terrible or too boring. Hopefully you felt muscles doing things, because that's always exciting. As ever, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I'm glad that you're here. And let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you next time.